Brandon, what's up?
Hey, Derek, good to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, man. Thank you for giving me this time. Our first interview was awesome. I enjoyed speaking with you. I was very happy that you came back on. So thank you for this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me on again. It's good to see you and talk to you
Dude,
again.
yeah, dude, I love how you do podcasts, and you treat everybody so kind because not all people are like that, and I think that's really awesome that you do that. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I'm
Appreciate
sure the other podcasts are appreciative too. So I got to tell you, so I was a little bit behind
it.
with Cobra Kai. I was on episode 5 because I'm like, it's so hard doing 10 shows at once, right? But Cobra Kai gets this priority for me because I love it so much. So I was on episode 5. And as I'm watching episode 5, I swear on my kids' lives, I'm not making this up. Every time somebody comments on an interview I post on YouTube, I get an email, right? So I'm on episode 5, and I swear the timing was impeccable. Somebody replies, somebody puts to our first interview, R.I.P. Kwon. I was like, wait, what? They
No.
ruined the goddamn episode 6 for me. Can you
Oh,
and you can
no.
check it out on that. I could not believe they did that. I was like,
Oh, no.
dude, I have so many issues with what happened to you. Like, so again, I love Cobra Kai. I feel like as like one of my own children, I feel like I can say great things about it, and I feel like I can say things that I might not agree with. Do you agree with that?
I mean, as a fan, you always feel strongly about things, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
I mean, that's it makes sense, you know. Everyone has their own opinions about it. Dang, I'm sorry that it got spoiled for you though. Dang.
I was like, because I don't know if you remember our first interview, but I was like so psyched for your character. I was like so like
Mhm.
after that entrance. Let me ask you this: how tough was it to hold it in, like just to talking to me, like our first episode, our first time we met, and like knowing that had already happened to you? Is that tough to keep it in?
Um, it in some ways, yes. I feel like it's such a big moment that it's kind of like a no-brainer to not give it away. Um, but just in the sense of like, oh, I hope I'm not like saying anything that might like make think some people think one way or another was a little bit tricky, especially because I've never really like this is like my first like professional acting role, so it was a little like I'm testing the waters, I'm learning as I go with these interviews and stuff, what I can say, what I can't say.
Right.
So in that sense, but I mean, it was like it was what fortunately for me, it was like it was about a month between shooting episode 3 from part 1 and everything that we did in part 2 in between. So for me it almost feels like two different shows, so it was pretty easy for me to differentiate the two when I was being asked questions about it.
Right.
But yeah.
Did you ever almost slip? Were you close to saying something, or like just giving? Because I know my dumbass would be like, I would have ruined it. I would be like, well, it was great while I was alive. Oh, so you're much smarter than I am. So
No, I wouldn't say that. I think maybe in the sense of like whenever someone would ask me like they're trying to get something out of me, like what do you think, what can we expect more of Kwon in part 2? That's when I would just get a little nervous, but like I'll just be like, don't say anything that might lead him to think that. But the what happens is so out of pocket and so like unpredictable that it's kind of like, I guess, a no-brainer. I was just kind of more so worried about spoiling other aspects of the show, and what happens in part 2. But in terms of like the ending, like I was like, that is the one thing I'm not going to spoil.
I will say that the positives of season 6 have definitely been you, Patrick, and Raina for sure.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
yeah, somebody said, and I totally agree with this on Reddit. You should have minimally been there for season 5 when they introduced Kim, and she comes out and says, "Well, hey, here's the fighters." Like, I felt like you were a season too late. I mean, I'm going
Mm.
to talk to John, Josh, and Hayden before the third part drops, but I'm going
Uh-huh.
to say it might be a little bit of a negative interview because I got some things that I'm not really happy with. Like, I'm not happy. Like, everyone's like, "Well, he served his purpose. Like, he had to go." Like, I do not agree with that. I do not
Mm.
agree because listen, we talked about how powerful your character was, right? And like how dedicated he was, how strong he was. I don't think he's the guy that picks up the knife and does that. I don't think that's in his character. There was nothing in that first part that led me to believe, oh, this guy will do anything to win. I never thought that. Maybe I missed it. Maybe that could happen. I'm getting older. I miss things. But there's nothing about Kwon where I'm like, he's a dirty player. Like he's the guy that's looking for every. Am I onto something, Brandon? Do you see any justification in that?
I mean, I feel like I can always see all the fans' different points of view, their opinion about what's happening. I think that the writers look, at the end of the day, you feel strongly about that. That means it was impactful, right? And at the end of the day, that means the writers did their job, the creative team, everyone did their job, because at the end of the day, we want to impact the audience, whether it's positive or negative.
Right.
The fact that you feel strongly about that means you cared about the character. That's all that matters at the end of the day. Everyone's gonna have their opinions on what was the fate or whatever. How I see it is, I think that Kwon's role in this universe is kind of to show who is someone that is the most Cobra Kai as it gets.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who's like the deepest end of, because we've seen Robbie there, we've seen Miguel there, we've seen all these characters there, but we also see the light in them, the good side of them. I feel like Kwon is like the first character where you're like, he would need 10 seasons to transfer to Miyagi-Do. Like, you're like, when you see this guy, he's like, you immediately can tell in episode 3 that like Grease loves this. You know, this guy is like gonna be so down for the no mercy concept and all of this. So I feel like in a way it's like it does make sense. If there is someone who's going to go to those lengths, it's probably out of the kids, especially, it's probably Kwon. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be able to name anyone else out of the kids that would probably like will do anything to win at all costs. I mean, for me, how I justified it was like, I think Kwon believes he's the strongest fighter at the Sekai Taikai. Even after what happens with Axel in episode 6, I think he believes he's supposed to win. But he keeps getting his butt kicked, you know? And he feels like that shouldn't be happening. And I think the moment he sees the knife is kind of like his final straw of like, he's at peak embarrassment. He literally just got kicked in front of a camera, in front of everyone on national television. You see this dude's hair. He obviously cares about his image, you know? So for someone like that who has been misled down the wrong path of mentality and use more anger. It'll get you to what you want. He keeps trying and it's not working. So he kind of goes delusional at one point, you know? Yeah. And I think I like it in the sense of, I think also the creators, when they created this character, I think they had it in mind that they wanted someone who's going to be very bold, who's going to be very strong, who's going to be a very strong character and hopefully a fan favorite, you know? And they want to show how you can be taken away like that. And I kind of see it as Kwon in this universe is kind of like, he's like one of those people that has died too soon. And it's like, it makes it even more impactful that way, because there's so many unanswered questions, but it makes it even more sad because it's like, there's no way to find out now whether or not if he had a right mentor, if he would have turned good, or you know what I mean? All these unanswered questions, it makes it more impactful. Like, I mean, I've said this in the past, and I'm not comparing myself to them by any means, but it reminds me of like a Bruce Lee or like a Tupac, of someone who's like died way too soon, and it makes it even more impactful because then you keep thinking of the what ifs. And I feel like Kwon in this Cobra Kai universe kind of serves that in a way, and it's kind of like a wake-up call to all the other students who have been Cobra Kai and like, dang, that could have been me, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how I see it. Yeah.
No, that's really well said. Speaking of the creators, John Hurwitz described, I think it was Variety, describes Kwon as a broken person. Do you agree with that?
Definitely. I didn't hear that, but I mean, definitely.
Yeah, he did.
Definitely.
I think it was Variety. He calls Kwon a broken person. I would not agree with that. I would not agree with that. Again, I also don't think he's the guy that would pick up a knife, but that's me. But I live in my own reality, so.
I mean, we can all have our own opinions, right?
Yeah.
I think Kwon's character is so strong that he must have gone through some type of trauma to be the way he is, to be so easily driven by anger and to go to such lengths to do whatever he can to win. I think he's definitely been through some stuff, you know, and usually for people to be that bold and be that just vicious and what is it, relentless, and just like so unempathetic and just don't care about anyone's feelings but their own, like I think they got to be broken, you know what I mean? So I would agree with that statement, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's the creator, so I gotta agree with it.
or Brandon, or passionate. I mean, you can be passionate and not, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be, but you know, it's crazy because did you agree with the loss with before? Let's back up a little bit. Did you agree with Kwon losing? And were you okay with that?
Losing in episode 9, or
yeah, wasn't it? Did Robbie beat him? Or yeah. Were you okay with that?
Of course. I mean, look, I'm such a big fan of the show that I'm not going to question anything that the creative team has in mind. My job is just to do my best to help bring it to life. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think for, you know, Robbie's arc as a character, he keeps becoming number two. Now he finally gets this spot. He finally gets the spotlight to be the captain, and he's letting everyone down. You know what I mean? So for him to have an arc like this, where he beats the captain of Cobra Kai, this guy that's been set up since season 1 to be the next big bad, and to beat him on the biggest stage, I mean, Robbie definitely deserves a moment like that, I think. And I feel like that whole fight, Robbie is the perfect person to do that, because Robbie is probably, out of all of them, understands Kwon the most. He came from a really rough upbringing as well. He's been coached by Kreese as well. He knows what it's like to be on Cobra Kai. And so maybe on paper, people might see that Robbie's not as talented as a fighter as Kwon. He gets the mental edge by knowing how to manipulate Kwon's anger and use that against him. You know what I mean? He humiliates him by pulling him by the hair. He's using all of these things against him. And I think Robbie, out of all the people on Miyagi-Do, is the one person that would know how to get that edge on Kwon. I think it's more than ability at that point. It's more of like the mental edge. Yeah.
I mean, I don't see it that way completely, but like, but you agree, Brandon, though, you could disagree with the show and still love it. Like, I'm sure you have moments.
Of course.
Like, I mean, like, I disagree, but it doesn't mean I love it any less. Like, you know, but like, I don't know. And I also felt like Robbie should have been the one to die, not Kwon. Because come on, have you seen Rocky 4? Have you seen Rocky 4? I don't know.
Yes, of course.
So Apollo Creed dies to Ivan Drago, because that's who people are comparing Axel to, right? Mm-hmm. They're comparing Axel to Ivan Drago, and Drago kills Carl Weathers in Rocky 4. Like, and it's almost the same scene too. There's a scene where Axel, was it Axel that hits him, and then the blood kind of had there not been a distraction, had that fight finished, I think Robbie would have been done. Like he lucked out. Like, he kind of lucks out again. You don't see it that way a little bit? Like, I don't know. I feel like somebody said Axel was over. By the way, I love Patrick, and I'm going to talk about him in a second. But I just felt like he's overpowered. Like, he's a machine. Like, I don't think anybody has the skills to beat him. He's impossible. But I thought Robbie was done. Watching it in real time before I found out you were gonna, like, I kind of felt like if I hadn't known you were gonna go, and I thought I read somewhere that the original plan was to have Robbie go, but maybe I'm mistaken on that too. I don't know.
I never heard anything about that though.
Yeah, so maybe I'm just making that up. But Brandon, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh. I don't want to see Robbie go, but like, you've never seen Robbie get his ass kicked like that. I mean, blood coming out of his mouth. Like, I mean, he held his own with you, which is impressive because Kwon is one of the best fighters on the show, in the show's history. So it's like, so when you see Axel, just nothing Robbie is doing is making a dent. Like, it's just like he's throwing punches and kicks and nothing is making a dent. So the fact that he makes it out of that, and he's lucky that the distraction happens, the big whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. I thought that was a road that would have been interesting to go down.
Yeah, I mean, look, we still have part 3, right? So there's still a lot of unanswered questions that might still be explored. Um, I agree. I think if the match had gone further, I think Robbie, was his future didn't look so bright. I mean, that's what's so fun about this show is that you can forever think about the what ifs. What if
which is
this
which
happened?
is
What if
which is
that
fun, which is
makes it
fun as
so
hell.
fun?
It's so
Yeah,
fun. Yeah,
it's
like
so fun.
yeah, it's so weird because like we talk about these fictional characters, like who would have been tougher, who would have been a better, like it's just that's the fun part, Brandon. I think
Yeah.
that's the great part. Let me ask you this: if you had to create your own ending, would you have gone the same route as the creators had? Is there another opening that sometimes you think about on your own where like, hmm, this would have been a good out for, or this would have been a good road for Kwon to travel down,
Um,
or do you think that
you
was the
know,
only way?
I think selfishly, just so I could spend more time with all of them, there's like, of course, a little part of me that's like, oh, what if like there were like 10 more seasons of the show and maybe he gets mentored by this sensei or this, but you know, I I think Josh and Hayden were very purposeful that they want to end this show on their terms. And I I'm just honored to be part of such a historic moment in this legendary franchise.
Right.
Because I mean, like Hayden told me when he was telling me the arc of the character, he's like, this is the first time anyone's ever died on screen, and it's a kid.
Yeah.
Just like he just let me marinate on the weight of that moment and how big it was for me. I'm just like honored to be a part of such a big moment. And um, it seems like it's been very impactful because everyone's feeling so strongly about it. So I think they did their job. I think we did our job. Yeah.
No, you certainly did. I would agree with that. But can we just agree on something? Can we agree that the tournament cameraman should be fired? He's still filming when the head gets knocked out. Why? And they're still filming during the riot, and he's still filming. Like we got to fire some cameramen here, right, Brandon? They got to go. Like these people should never be around kids again. Like give me a
Yeah.
break. Like, and they still film. Nobody thinks, hey, let's stop. They want to cut it after we've seen Kwon dead on the ground. Like, give me a break. Like, what are we doing here, right, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so fun about this about Cobra Kai Karate World is that anything can happen. It's like this. Yeah, we're kind of in the real world, but we're also in karate world, and we can get away with so much more stuff, and that's what makes it fun. That's why we love this show.
For
It's just so
sure.
so
Yeah.
unrealistic in some ways. Like, wouldn't the police be there by that point, or security guards, or like? I mean, of course we can say that, but that's what makes movie magic, right? Is like
100%.
we just loved it. But no, I agree. I mean, what is this camera guy doing? Like
Yeah, I mean, it's just like he's still filming it. It's like, but can we also agree on this point that Kreese is absolutely batshit crazy? Like bringing a knife to a kid's tournament, like he's like in his like the convicted felon part, like that's kind of I guess dismissed now because he said he had PTSD. I don't know, but like Brandon, we have to do something with this. Like I don't know. I feel like this guy is just. I think one of the creators said he was like this knife is like his chance to either go further down that dark path he's going down or maybe see the light. So I get that too, but like, don't you think he's done so much, Brandon, at this point, going back to 1984, that there's
oh
no
my gosh.
can there be redemption for Kreese? No, right? There can't be, can there? Like,
I mean,
is it ever too late for redemption, Brandon?
are you asking me as a person what do I just think in general?
I'm asking you as a fan of the show, and I'm asking you as a
Mm-hmm.
person. Take yourself for my next few questions.
Uh-huh.
Forget that you're ever on the show.
Yeah.
Forget that you never existed on this show.
Uh-huh.
Let's just talk as two people that love Cobra Kai.
Okay.
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 So do you think as a fan of movies do you think that there's a road to redemption for this man?
I mean, if there is, it'd be really freaking tough. What I think Cobra Kai the show does so well is in Cobra Kai, we get to really see everyone's point of view on why they are the way they are. I think it's much more humanized than when we were in the Karate Kid franchise. When we were just in Karate Kids, it was during the time it's film, it's 80s film. Everything's a lot more black and white. And I know Marty, who plays Kreese, was saying that he didn't want to play this character is so two-dimensional. You know what I mean? He wanted to bring
Right.
more layers to the character, so that's why we see all these flashback scenes. We see why he is the way he is. I mean, all I'll say is like my initial instinct is like just knowing the things that he's done. I feel like no, but the writers always seem to surprise me. They always surprise me in the show, and they always explore perspective so well. So I mean, you never know, man. You never know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I will selfishly say that I really hoped for more screen time of you and then of Kenny as well. Like, I really felt like they put so much into developing both those characters. I mean, they haven't killed Kenny off, but I feel like I don't know. I don't know. The fan in me wishes there was more there. I don't know, but it's not. Again, it's not my story to tell.
Uh-huh.
But I love the story that's being told. I mean, I disagree with some of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What do you think of Dimitri, Brandon? That character, because I feel like this second part of season 6, he's starting to come across as unlikable, and I feel like a little bit though. Come on, like I even read something. I read it today, unrelated. I didn't write it. Like somebody said, like Dimitri's like he's got to go. He kind of does. Like I feel like everyone's downfall comes with Kenny, right? Anthony LaRusso, we talked about in the first interview,
Mm,
like he's got a little bit more redemption. I kind of like where he's going, right?
mm.
But then Dimitri's like he's hating on Kenny. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Like Dimitri, if we're being honest, you shouldn't even be here. Like, I mean, and again, I'm talking character. I'm not talking actor. He's a wonderful
Yeah,
guy.
of
He's a
course, of
wonderful,
course.
wonderful. But I don't know, like he's throwing these shots at Kenny, and I've kind of like had it with that part of the show. Like, leave Kenny alone. Like, this dude's
Yeah,
had a hard enough life. Like, shut up, Dimitri. Like, go away. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
did you find did you find his character a little bit like I don't want to say it, he took a turn. He was this happy, fun-loving guy for the better
Mhm,
part of 6 seasons, right? Maybe five and a half,
mhm.
6 seasons. And then we see for the first time, Brandon, that maybe not. Like maybe he's not, or maybe it's just a rough patch because we all have our moments
Yeah,
on TV or not, right? So,
yeah, yeah.
what's your take on that, Brandon? Am I reading into this too much?
No, no, I think you're exploring something that I actually really haven't thought of, but I definitely have some thoughts. I feel like again, I keep saying it a million times, but this show shows perspective so well, and I think the very real feeling when you're a senior in high school and you're about to go to college and feeling like just so much pressure that you have to go to certain colleges and all this and that. And,
Yeah,
now these guys are on the biggest stage in the world. This isn't just the Valley anymore. So I think all of the characters, especially out of the kids, they're showing all of their insecurities when they're under pressure. And I feel like Dimitri is number one going through this whole thing where he's only had one friend his whole life, and that was Eli. And now he finds out that they break a childhood promise. When you're in high school, that means everything to you.
right.
And I think he's just super stressed about that. And so he's just kind of showing, they're kids. Like everyone lets out their insecurities in certain ways. And I think Dimitri is kind of just like he just can't get over this fact that he feels like Eli has betrayed him. Um, so yeah, I mean, I see the jokes about at least he's going to MIT, like all of that. It's pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how I see it. Yeah.
Did people reach out to you on social media with condolences and because I mean you dude, but like for time on screen, dude, you maximized every second. Like I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, dude, I just again I don't want to sound repetitive and beat a dead horse, but like I'm pissed that they killed you off that early. I'm just pissed. I have to say there was one moment where I said if this happens, I'm done with Cobra Kai. There was a
Uh-huh.
moment, and I'm trying to think back to when you were in the ring with Sam. I think it was
Uh-huh.
the tagging in and out.
Yep.
I turned to my wife. I said, if she lands a shot to Kwon, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. Like I'm done. I'm canceling Netflix. We're good. Like I move. I am moving. I am moving on. There is no way this happens in any universe, any galaxy. So, and I'm not like again. Mary's wonderful. I'm not saying that, but like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just I just don't believe Kwon is so good. I feel like it's like Axel, Kwon, and I feel like almost everybody else. Well, actually, there's some pretty good fighters that we're starting to see from around the world. But
Uh-huh.
Do you think there's ever times where it's the cast or it can be too big, Brandon? Because I almost feel like sometimes it takes a lot to absorb. It's a big cast now, like especially with the tournament, because that's what tournaments are.
Yeah.
It's huge, man. Like there's almost too many stories going on, and I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody, but
Yeah.
it's a lot, man. Because I was like, why is Daniel LaRusso in a dog cage? Can we stop this? Like, what is going on here? Like it was a lot. Like I kind of wish we funneled it down a little bit, but that's as creators, it's tough because when you're creating a show, you're trying to tell multiple stories. And I get it's a challenge that Cobra Kai has handled beautifully. But do you ever at times, and I'm not talking specific people that you wish were gone, but do you think at times it's a overly large cast?
You know, I've actually spoke with the writers about this. I was just mind blown how they have all of these characters and
Yeah.
they address them all so well, and they do it within 35 minutes. You know, like if this was like they even told me, some of the writers told me, like, for this season in particular, it should have been hour-long episodes. Like it, because there's so much going on. And I even remember, I noticed just as an actor, a lot of times when you have a scene as an actor, sometimes you might warm up in a scene. In this show, because there's so much plot that we need to move forward, and there's so many different scenes and plots and relationships that are going on at once, you really don't have that many lines. Even if you're a main character in a scene, you don't have that many lines in a scene.
Right.
So I noticed that was a big challenge for me as an actor, that I have to be on it, because
Right.
like you have to just be right there. To me, I think that's what makes this show so awesome. It's like you're never bored once, because this thing happens. Oh man, then it's a cliffhanger on that. Oh wait, but we're picking off where we left off here. Oh okay. Oh, now it's a cliff, and then you're just like bouncing all over the place, and you're just like, oh, that episode's done already. That episode's done away. What the heck? So, um, I think, yes, like theoretically, we probably should either have a longer show or maybe less characters or whatever. If you're following the blueprint of like filmmaking per se, but then Cobra Kai wouldn't be Cobra Kai, you know?
Right.
This is the best martial arts soap opera ever. It's like we like that's what makes this show this show. That's what makes the style this style. So I think no other show can do that like Cobra Kai. You know, they do it so well, and they continue to do it so well. So
I love
I
how
see
you
what you're
phrase
saying,
it.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think so? Let me ask you this, because I feel like the show at
Mhm.
first, it was almost like where Star Wars is Luke Skywalker's story. I feel like at the beginning of Cobra Kai, it was Johnny Lawrence's story, and I felt like for that for 3 seasons.
Uh-huh.
Do you think we've kind of gone into the little bit of a soap opera point? Like it naturally happens, I think, when a show evolves, right? So this
Of
happens. Like
course. Yeah.
now we're more about kids, their relationships, and I feel like Johnny and Daniel have taken a little bit of a not step back. It's the focus is not so much on them, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so is that? Do you see it that way? Am I over analyzing that, Brandon?
No, I mean, I think that's what makes it so humble of Billy and Ralph and Marty to make room for us as new characters
Yeah, yeah,
in this beloved franchise. You know,
yeah.
of course, in the beginning of the seasons, we have to show, you know, Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso way more, because that's the nostalgia of the show. That's how they hook you. But now, you know, unless if I think they have a really good balance of it, because they still pay homage. They're always talking about Miyagi still to this day. You know what I mean? They're still paying homage to their storylines as well and expanding onto it. So I think, yeah, I think in order for, unless if we want to just keep seeing Karate Kid parts 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like for them to take that tiny step back and to explore this new world of new characters, I think it was definitely necessary, and I think they still do a good job of still giving them, you know, enough of a plot and screen time as well, because they're the heart of the show. If there's no Cobra Kai with those OGs. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Is there any level of sadness when you're in your own mind, when
Mhm.
you're laying there, when you're shooting the scene, and you've got the knife? Is there any layer of sadness knowing that this is it for you? Like in your own mind, are you kind of like, listen, it's an epic death, and that is, as an actor, that's always a great thing to have.
Yeah.
But is there a part of you that like This is it. Like in your own mind, not like verbally or with the writers or anything. I'm just an honest feeling from you, Brandon. Is
Yeah.
it? You know it's the end, and it's like, are
Hmm.
you? Because you get this wonderful opportunity. You've kicked ass since we've seen
Yeah.
you. Is there a
Thank
part
you.
of you that's like, man, this sucks a little bit. Like, shit, I don't want to go out like this. Like, is there any of that, Brandon? Any of that?
I mean, to be honest, we were so short on time that I was completely convinced we weren't gonna finish the day we finished. And then we got there, you know? And when we were getting there, I just was doing my best to just stay in the present moment and just absorb everything.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think when we did like when we finished that scene where, you know, Daniel LaRusso, you know, turns Kwon's body over. And once we finished that, you know, everyone gave me huge applause and were just like they
Oh,
started chanting speech and stuff. And that's when it was really hitting me like, dang, this is it, man. And I remember freaking Jacob Bertrand was like, yeah, he was yelling speech, speech, speech. And so I said something. I don't even know exactly what I said. It was just pretty much along the lines of how grateful I was for everyone on the show and how welcoming they've been and how big of a fan I've been over these years and how surreal it was. And you know, I was getting teary eyed because I was like, oh, if I keep talking, I'm gonna probably cry here. But I was just so dang grateful, and that I mean, that was something that I'm until the day I actually die, I will always remember that. But yeah, I mean, that was the only part of me that was bummed out was that dang, I don't get to see these amazing people every single day again. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
But in terms
yeah.
of creative vision, I think I'm just yeah, I'm all for it. You know, I think I'm just like I said, I'm just honored to be part of that such a big moment like that. Yeah.
No, that's a beautiful answer. You know, when I rewatched the last episode a few times. You know who really sells your scene, and I didn't see it till the second time around. And I've been hard on this character because I didn't like him for a majority of the show. But um, Griffin, Anthony LaRusso, the look on his face after he realizes what happened is like what the hell am I watching? Like what just happened? Like the
Yeah.
stunned look on his face sells that death. Like I don't know if other people have said this, maybe they have, but like obviously the other actors did too. But just the look on he and his mother's face, like
Yeah.
what the f just happened? It
Yeah.
just adds to that epic moment, right, Brandon?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, shout out to Griffin for that and just everyone like you know, we see everyone's reactions, well not everyone's, but a lot of people's reactions to it and definitely sells the moment that much more. I remember I actually visited the set even though I wasn't shooting that day. I was just like wanting to interact with a lot of those cast members that I don't share scenes with, like Griffin and Owen and Nathaniel. You know, all the people that are watching watching the Sekai Tekai.
Yeah.
And I was just hanging out with them on set, and it was just kind of funny because they were like, "Yeah, we're watching you die today, but we're not actually watching you because you guys didn't even film it yet." You know what I mean? So it was kind of funny, but it was really cool to just like get to know them and stuff like that. And they definitely killed it. I love their scenes over there. Yeah.
What was your take? What is your take on the new cast? You and Patrick and Raina. Obviously, we've talked with you, but Patrick and Raina. What was your take on their the introduction? Their characters. Raina is unfreaking believable.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Yeah.
it's insane. I swear, Brandon, I couldn't put. I don't. I don't know where I saw this, but this was like maybe season 4, season 5. Somebody sends her a message saying you should audition for Cobra Kai. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's great. Like, and you figure she shows those videos, and it's like, oh my god, like she's legit. And then she ends up in the cast. So I don't know if that was
Yeah.
related, if it was all in the plan, but she is incredible. Patrick, who doesn't have the background that the two of you do, still manages to sell it off, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
anything you wanted to say about Patrick or Raina?
I mean, oh my goodness, both of them were just the coolest, nicest, most hardworking people ever. It was so awesome because um Patrick, Raina, and Daniel and I, who plays Yoon, we all kind of came onto the show together during part 2, and we got to experience like we got to go through the journey together of like this is all of our first big roles. We're really nervous about being into the being in this this amazing franchise, and we all got to kind of go through that journey together and kind of reassure each other, like, no, man, you're doing great. Whenever we would feel like insecure, oh, I don't know if I'm doing well in this or that. So it was so awesome to go through that together. But I mean, you said it all already. Like Reina, I've known of her for a very long time because the martial arts world is very small. So I was super pumped that I finally got to meet her and work with her, and she was, man, she is so awesome. She finally, I'm so happy for her that she's getting the recognition on, you know, Netflix, that she finally you know, it was cool because Reina and I both, we kind of like, us in particular got to really share that experience of like what it feels like now that from the martial arts world we're coming from here and we get to be in this show. You know, a lot of, we're kind of like one of the few new people that have, are like a big character in the show, and we've been doing martial arts pretty much our whole lives. So it definitely hits differently because we grew up watching shows like this, and now we get to be a part of it, and we feel I guess what's the right word? I guess responsibility to represent martial arts well in a way. So that was really, really cool. And for us to both like, it's hard to change professions like that, you know, going from being high level in one thing into like, say, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done competing in martial arts, and to try to pursue this other thing. So to be able to go through that together was really awesome. It was much well deserved for Reina, and I'm really excited to see what she continues to do. Um, yeah, and with Patrick, like he, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how freaking nervous he must have been to have like no background in this and to have to come in and have like no time to train and to be the strongest out of all of us. But he sells it with his performance, and he put in the work all the time. I've told the story before, but I pride myself in being in the gym when no one else is going to be in the gym, you know? And we're all staying at the same hotel. I'm working out, I'm training. And lo and behold, I see Patrick walk into the gym. And he's
Wow.
coming in and he's training too. And he's humble enough to, he came over and was asking me for pointers on how can he do this kick better and this and that. So he did everything he could, and it definitely paid off, and he improved so much in the small time that we got to work together. Man, if he wants to keep training martial arts, he could be a world champion too, man. But yeah, both of them just absolutely amazing, and it was just awesome to go through that whole experience together. Yeah,
you guys are super humble, the two of you. Let me ask you this: with your background and Reina's background, is there less use of a stunt double because you have that advanced training? Like, is there less use of a second actor to do a move or to do a combination of moves? Because you and Reina have this extensive background and you're clearly gifted in that way, in the martial arts, you've dedicated so much of your life to it. Is there less need of another person to come in and do the choreography, or not the choreography, the actual moves?
Yeah, I'm really, really glad you asked that question, because I definitely want to give more perspective to people who aren't in the industry. People keep seeing like the ability that I have, and they just assume like he doesn't need a stunt double. He doesn't have a stunt double. No, any actor has a stunt double. I don't care who you name, they have a stunt double. And even if, say for example, that stunt double doesn't do any stunts on the day, they're doing so much work behind the scenes that nobody's aware about. They have a huge say on developing the fight scenes while we're doing table reads or whatever, fittings, whatever we need to do as actors.
Right.
Stunt performers are in a facility 12 hours a day making fight scenes, designing fight scenes for the character to make us look good. You know what I mean? So to discredit stunt doubles is just like, it doesn't make any sense to me, you know?
That's diabolical for people to do that. Like,
yeah. But I mean, I get it, because like if you don't know what happens behind the scenes, you just don't know. So that's why I'm glad you asked that question. I just wanted to make things clear. Like Dante Ha, who's my stunt double, he told me like he had a joke with me where he was like, "You're my acting double. I just get to hang out on set." You know what I mean? But like he still took some really hard hits for me. You know, he did that stair fall in episode 3. He that big throw that when Robbie throws Kwon over his head and he flies over and just he's the one that, you know, gets kicked right into the camera and does that fall. Like he took the hardest hits for me, man. And he had a huge say in developing the character and the fight style of Kwon. Yeah, like I remember when I saw him perform the fights for the first time. I remember when I used to be in stunts, when I was like, I remember when I made that transition to completely commit to acting, I was like, man, one day when I get to be the actor for that character, I'm never using my stunt double. And I remember first seeing Dante do the fight scene, and I was like, hey, Don, Ken, can Dante do all the fights for me? Because he just does it so well. But you know, Don and Ken, they train us so well and they trust us so much that they have us do most of our action. Now, action means the fights itself. I would say stunts is like the falls. If you have to do a fall off of a building or like hit the concrete hard or like do a fire burn or whatever, we're not doing much of that on this show, but like, you know, those hard falls, it's like those are the doubles coming in and doing that.
Because even during the fight, sometimes I'm wondering, is that Brandon or is that a stunt? Like sometimes it's fun to kind of wonder like who's doing what, like, you know, because but I guess that's a more of a testament to those stunt doubles because they do it so well, and it's still, and you can't tell, and it's amazing the way they cut in and cut. I mean, as somebody who edits like episodes of podcasts, like sometimes I've learned editing, but it's amazing where you don't see their faces, like. It's just how it's blended in. I guess this is more to the editing part of it, but it's amazing, Brandon, how they mix it in and make it look so damn good. Because I know when I spoke with Patrick, he gave credit to his stunt double to it. I think his name was Matt, and I'm sorry,
Matt Mullins.
Yeah, Matt Mullins. Yeah, like, and he talked about this guy like just like you did. He was his like almost. I hate to use this word, but protector. Like they are.
They really are. They really are. That's the best word.
It's almost like a Godfather, like, right? Because they're like, I want to make sure he's good. I want to make sure we're doing this, this, and this. So I feel like we need to come up with another word besides stunt double that encompasses what they do, right? Because it is stunt double, but it's like they give like guardianship advice. They're like parental in some ways. So there's a lot of other things they do that I wish there was a word that holistically like gave them credit for what they actually are. If that makes any sense, Brandon.
No, I agree 100%. But that's the thing about stunts, right? Is that the illusion of movie magic is that they're not supposed to be seen, you know what I mean? But that's why we got to give them even more credit because they're the only department that actually puts their livelihood on the line to make us look good, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everyone has their fair share of carrying their weight when it comes to filmmaking, but they literally risked their life and their body every day they come to set, you know what I mean? So it's like they definitely deserve much more credit. And like I'll say this too, like stunt doubles, even like I said, even in the perfect reality, if an actor is doing all of their own stunts, the stunt doubles are always the guinea pig to test the stunt off camera before the actor finally gets to go in. And so it's going through all these levels of like of safety before the actor goes in and does it. So yeah, they do so much work behind the scenes that I don't think a lot of people are aware about. So thank you for asking that question because I feel very passionately about that. I feel like they deserve much more credit.
Brandon, I'm sorry, what was your stunt double's name again? What is the name you said? I forget. I'm
Dante.
Sorry. Dante. So how good is Dante at martial arts compared to you? Like I hate to ask it that way, but like is he like is that his thing, martial arts, or is he like have other training? Like I guess I'm trying to figure out Dante's background a little bit, like the strength, like what composes a stuntman physically as far as the training goes.
Yeah, I mean it depends on what character you're doubling, you know. It always depends on the job. Dante, I think martial arts isn't actually his main thing. He is so well-rounded in all fields of stunts. Like, I think his main thing is actually archery. And most of his martial arts, I'm pretty sure, is like self-taught. And he's like a pro, man. He's so good. I think a lot of stunt performers, to widen the range of people that they can double, they widen their skill set. You know, they're usually not just doing one skill set, they're learning all different kinds. Um, so that's why I think for me, like when I was doing stunts, I felt disrespectful to the craft of stunts because for me, I'm mostly passionate about just the action side, the martial arts and action side. When it comes to motorcycle stuff or car stunts or high falls, fire burns, all of this other crazy stuff, I do not want to touch that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, there's so much more to it. Yeah.
So Brandon, there was talk early on. I don't know if it's talk or if it's actually happening. The idea
Mhm.
of giving Academy Award nominations for stunt people, I think that's a fucking great. I should have said that. I think that's a great idea. I think
I
that's a.
agree. I
I think
agree.
that's a great. I think that's a great idea. Like I think that's like super. Like you're right. They're not supposed to be. They would say this. Like I don't want
Mhm.
to. This is part of our job. But I feel like maybe a moment in the sun wouldn't hurt anybody. Like I just feel like it's
Of
about
course.
time for the. You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like, and I guess I'm saying this because I realize how humble some of these people are. Like they would,
Uh-huh.
like they're kind of like comfortable. Like, listen, this is my. I don't know. I just feel like they're it's time, or an Emmy for best stunt work, something like
Yeah,
something.
definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely. I mean, like, we recognize all other departments as well, and they're not supposed to technically be seen. Like, we're not supposed to see that or think about that when we're watching it. So, why not for stunt performers as well? And like I said, they're the one department that is always risking their lives.
right,
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
that's just crazy. You know,
Yeah,
it's amazing, and for
yeah.
them to not get the recognition they deserve is just doesn't make any sense. You know.
Well, Brandon, two more questions, and thank you for all
Mhm.
this time again.
Of course, of
Do
course.
you know how the story ends? Do you know how part three ends? I mean, I don't know how like I don't know like if your script because other shows like they only get like their sides, so like
Yeah.
they don't know where it goes. Like, do you know how the story ends? Part three?
Yeah, so I'm so excited to see part 3 because I'm gonna probably watch it purely as a fan. Because yeah, I don't get the scripts of episodes that I'm not in. So
So you don't know anything about part three?
I I've heard bits from like cast members, they'll tell me like kind of what happens, but it's very different from just hearing it versus like actually seeing it on paper. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm gonna be able to watch it purely as a fan, and I'm so excited for that. Yeah.
So one of the things that the show has done is like brought back Chosen and so many of these other vintage
Yeah.
characters. Do you think we see Hilary Swank part three?
I thought I saw Hayden answered that question. I'm pretty sure he said no.
Really? I
Yeah.
thought for sure we were gonna
I'm
see.
pretty sure he answered it on like Twitter or something, but I could be wrong.
Maybe you're right. Did he? Did he? Did he?
I
I don't know.
thought I thought he did, or unless if it was like a fake post or something, but I thought he did, but I could be wrong. Yeah,
Wh-
you don't know what to believe on the internet these days.
What's important to you as a fan that you hope happens in the last part of this show, the last third?
Ooh. I just hope that all the characters get the ending that they deserve. Yeah.
Specifically, give me something specific you hope happens. Is there something like as a fan that you really hope like this character has been down and out forever, or this person hasn't seen. Is there any like I'm cheering for Axel in some ways because I feel like he's a victim of abuse, and I hope
Yeah.
he's definitely joining Miyagi Do eventually. They're going to come to his rescue because Sam's already seen him be beaten. Like that's going to happen. I feel like. But is there anything in specifics, or are you just saying generally speaking, you hope it ends on a high note? They stick because I've heard them talk. They've stuck the landing. So I mean,
Yeah. I love all the characters. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly which ones. I mean, I feel like I would just love to see that the kids are like a lot of it is resolved of the conflict that we've been seeing. I would love to see like maybe a cliffhanger of like, ooh, the next generation of Devin and Kenny. Like what you know what I mean? Like
right,
all these
right.
kids are going to college, but what about these kids, you know, the previous generation? Um yeah, and I would love to see just like maybe how it ties in with Miyagi even more or I don't know, like I really don't know. Like you can't really I could go down the line on just a million different ideas and how it could probably end, but I feel like I definitely trust the creators on this show and they've never disappointed me. So I feel like they probably have something really good for the end, and I'm just excited to see um how all of their storylines end up, you know, ending. Yeah.
That's great. We talked about Kreese's redemption, right? I hope that happens. Is Silver beyond the redemption, you think?
Ooh, Silver. I feel like Silver's in the same boat as Kreese, you know, like they're both like
Yeah.
they're both very very far in the deep end of if they want a redemption, they need a lot to get that redemption, I think.
Yeah, I'm all for it, man. But like you are so kind. Thank you for coming back again. I really appreciate it. What is around the corner for you, man? Like what is going on? What do you hope happens? Like talk about your career after. So you've teased us on what you're capable of as an actor, and like many of us are all in, right? So
Oh.
what's next for you? What are you hoping happens? What is happening? Whatever you wanted
Mhm.
to say, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you so much again, Derek, for having me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I think, you know, it feels like what I love about the Cobra Kai fans is if they take everything so personally on what happens in the show, and they're all like, "Oh, we're gonna miss you. No, R.I.P." And it's weird because for me, I feel like this is just the beginning of being part of the Cobra Kai family. You know, I've yet to really interact much with the fans.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
mean, I look forward to. I mean, I signed with Rick with at Iconic. Um, for conventions and stuff. So
nice,
hopefully, you
nice,
know,
nice.
I'll meet some more fans there. So yeah, for me, it feels like a new beginning in a way. I think the biggest takeaway I took from this project is for a while I was definitely trying to push martial arts and action away from me because I was trying so hard to market myself as an actor, and
Right.
and Cobra Kai has been able to show me that it's a part of who I am and to embrace that part of me. And I realized that while I'm young, I should take advantage of my athletic prime and try to push the envelope as much as I can. So I'd love to do more action projects. But honestly, I just want to do anything. I feel like this is just the beginning for me. And I just want to tell stories that continue to inspire people to 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 become better people, you know? So yeah, I mean, I'm planning on, you know, making a lot more content on my YouTube channel as well. Um, I'm planning on hopefully building a more of an intimate relationship with the fan base as well, and give people an insight of what kind of happens behind the scenes and who I am as a person outside of the projects, outside of the characters that I play. So yeah, that's kind of what
Well,
I have going on.
conventions is going to get you up in personal. I think you're going to be great at those. I'll end with this. So I did tell Patrick. I said, because Patrick takes a lot of shit for killing. Well, not Patrick. Axel takes a lot of shit for killing Kwon. I said to Patrick that needs to stop because Kwon
Yeah.
made Kwon made a series of bad choices,
Oh
picking
yeah.
up picking up the knife, moving forward. And there's people online like to tell Axel it should have been you.
Oh
Like,
my god.
yeah, you killed Kwon. So it's like, so I said to him, I said, no, that was a series of poor choices by Kwon. I thought that's what
Yeah.
I said, so
Yeah. I agree. I mean, being so like passionate about Kwon should be alive. For you to say that just goes to show that like it's pretty obvious that Kwon kind of paved his own path, and you
yeah.
can't really put it on to Axel.
I wish this was
Yeah.
my story because Kwon would still be alive, and I swear to God, and I'm not just saying this because we're speaking. Robbie would be the one that would be gone because I think
Oh
that would
my
have been more. I
gosh.
would have that, and I don't say that as like a negative thing, but just my story. But
I think
it,
if Robbie died, people would cry forever. I don't think people
they
would ever recover from that.
they would riot.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't recover ever.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know, man. I'm kind of sad though that it's all coming to an end a little bit. Like it's just like for forever this show has embraced all these age groups, and it's
Mhm.
like what the hell do we do now? Like it's gonna be like
Yeah.
Forrest Gump at the end of that run when he finally doesn't want to run anymore. Like where do I go now? Like what
Yeah.
about all these people are gonna be looking for these great shows because Cobra Kai has been their life for what since 2018 at least.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
don't know, man.
It's
You have
so
a
bittersweet. Yeah.
you have a bright future ahead of you. And as always, you are just so much fun to talk to and always so humble and kind and talented. And I wish you nothing but the best, Brandon. Until next time, thank you very much for coming on and giving me some of your time.
Thank you so much, Derek. I had an absolute blast. Thank you so much.
Have a